Hi there, everyone. Welcome. Welcome to this webinar on transitioning from Panotour Pro to Pano2VR Pro, presented by Thomas Bradenfeld. I'm Karen from Garden Gnome, and I'll be moderating today. And Thomas is not only a well-known professional panorama photographer, but he's also a well-known trainer. And you might know him from his online training videos or his books. Or maybe you were lucky enough to join him on one of his photography workshops. So I think you're going to be really in for a treat today. So today's webinar will take about an hour, and it will be in English. Also, if you have a quick question during the presentation, go ahead and ask it in the chat tab. Otherwise, just use the Q&A tab, and we'll get to those questions at the end of the webinar. Finally, we are recording this webinar, and the video will be made available to you in about a day or two, but we'll let you know when it's ready. And I think that's it for me, so I don't want to take up any more time. Thomas, I'll hand it over to you, and enjoy, everyone.
Hello, thank you, Karen, for your introduction. I'm Thomas Bradenfeld, and I'm trying to show a transition from Panotour Pro to Pano2VR. I designed a little demo project for you with the major features of Panotour Pro. And I tried to import this project into Pano2VR. And after this import, I try to do the rest, which is not imported due to the different concepts Panotour Pro and Pano2VR have in managing, especially the user interface. What's in Panotour Pro done in the Style tab with all these plugins and modules here on this side and the selection to grab from here, this is done in Pano2VR with the skin editor. I think it will be the main topic of both webinar sessions I'm holding today and next week, same time, same place, to go on. And it is mentioned for Panotour Pro users which are need to change or looking for an alternative, as Panotour Pro is going to descend. And I think the day will definitely come when Panotour Pro is stopping to work. And I've set up a little demo project for you to demonstrate how to find the equivalence in Pano2VR to the features and functions we find in Panotour Pro. And maybe I give a short review about what I'm doing here, and let's have a look at the project. And this is partly made from commercial photos I made for the Vienna State Opera and part of free work I'm doing in the surroundings here. And we have an outdoor part. It's this tour, and you can move around. I have made some hotspots for different locations around the opera. Here is the opening of the famous opera bar with all the motorcades and stretch limos arriving with the VIPs, and you can have some a video insert here, which is simply from YouTube. And we can walk around here around the opera, and we have a map here and a floor plan for the interior part of the opera, and we have a map this is a floor plan, and this should be the map made with OpenStreetMap around the opera. You can click all this stuff. You know this as you are a frequent user of Pano2VR. Here we have a pinned video at the outside. This is a summer public viewing at the opera, and you can walk into the opera, and then you can have a look at the backstage area with some video pop-ups as shown in the outside area, and some image pop-ups here with inspector's desk and all this stuff. It is quite common if you're using Panotour Pro for your projects. I have some menus here, and the opera and the project is grouped into an interior part and an outside part, and we have some image galleries and an usual controller. And what I'm trying to do in these 2 sessions is to get this project transferred, that you have about the same functions and features that you can, what you have done up to now with Panotour Pro, and how to do is to do this, all this stuff in Pano2VR. So let's put this away, and I've organized the project into groups in Pano2VR. This group here, the outdoor group, has some description, and there is a map outside, and we have the inside part, the indoor part, with a floor plan. And what's especially the topic of the next session is how to configure all this grouping stuff, where Pano2VR has a completely different approach. It is not working with groups like Pano2VR, but you can find a very useful and even more powerful equivalent if you use the so-called tags in Pano2VR, where you can do a lot of conditions and switching between parts of the user interface and parts of your tour. So the first step you do is if you need a ready-made Panotour Pro project, and you can read in this file here into Pano2VR. I'm switching to the side, and I'm doing this away here, and I'm switching over to Pano2VR. I'm using the standard layout to do not confuse anybody. I have different screen layouts, but most of them are done for double screens. And I'm just using the basic layout. What I'm first switching additionally is tour map, and here you can grab this window and just add it as a tab here for the tour map. This is present all the time if you like it. It's not dependent on what you're showing here, which is different to Panotour Pro, where you need to click on the card icon in the tour tab to make it visible in the bottom viewer. So let's head over to import Panotour project, and I try to get this. Where is it? I need Pano2VR webinar, Pano2VR, and here is my file, and it recognizes it. You see it is highlighted, and Pano2VR is recognizing the projects, and now it is working, and you see your basic structure, and that is the most important part. Pano2VR is naming the project in the same fashion. It got the same file name, and you need to save it. And I'm doing it in a different folder. I think it's my PTP import. And so I have an isolated folder where I'm doing all the stuff from this point on. You see, this is a tour browser. This is pretty much the same as the tour tab in Pano2VR. This is equivalent. This is what you see. What you see here. This is living here. First of all, you have some little icons with every panorama. The warning sign says this node has no incoming hotspots or no outgoing hotspots, and so they are not connected. And you have a little satellite icon. That means this node has GPS data assigned. That given, you have all the nodes already placed on the tour map. And all connections, all hotspots, and so on, are defined already on the map. And you not only have the right place, but you have also all connections. And you see here, everything is marked. And it is not, it is here, up to here, it is not important whether it's an indoor or an outdoor group panorama. And if you click on the panorama, you have the user data where you can see all the tags here. And what's very nice is the tags this is this part. You have a part user data. User data is pretty much the same as you have in Panotour Pro when you click on a panorama, and this right section here is more or less the same, collecting all properties, all data you assign to this node. A panorama is called a node in Pano2VR, and all this data you find here and you can set up here can be found in this user data tab and in the properties tab. This is more the technical stuff, and this is all the semantic stuff and everything what describes the panorama, which geolocates it, and so on. And what's very nice is if you have a group name in here around the Vienna State Opera and the Vienna State Opera interior, if you switch to Pano2VR, these group descriptions, this group title is already imported into Pano2VR as a tag. These tags are one of the powerhouses in Pano2VR because you can make pretty much everything in the user interface or in the interaction in Pano2VR dependent on how these tags are named. And if you go to an interior shot, you see it. All the spaces are replaced by underscores, but this is pretty much transferred. So you can easily group your panoramas by the group names imported from Panotour Pro into tags in Pano2VR. This is a very nice concept, and you can start right away from here. So what you get after you have imported a Panotour Pro is all the nodes, all the panoramas with their file names and with their titles. You have the file names here. You can see it in the properties. They are listed here. It is pretty much the same as in the properties panel in the tour tab of Pano2VR. And you have the in the user data, you have all geolocation data, and you have these tags. And you have all connections. Let's talk about the hotspot. The hotspot concept in Pano2VR is pretty much the same as you have it in Panotour Pro. What's different is if you have geolocated data, then if you are on one panorama, the panorama sees all other nodes. These are the gray ones. These are ghost hotspots. And they are usually, if there is no connection, maybe we take this as an example. We are looking to a place outside. We cannot see it because I'm not here, and because we are indoor. But this one is a node indoor. It's the Imperial box. You can switch in the preview window, and this is a nice feature of Pano2VR. If you have the preview is always in full size and full interactive. You see it is what you see what you get, and if you hit the Alt key and click here, you can jump inside of this preview window and to have all the other nodes here, and can switch around and navigate the tour already in the preview window and to control all angles of where I'm looking at and so on. This is the connection between all these nodes inside of a tour shown in the main interface. And if you have a ghost hotspot, and maybe you can read a ghost hotspot as a kind of suggestion. It is here. You can, by the way, you can make it invisible if it's too much, and maybe you because you see all nodes from all nodes. In bigger tours, it can be quite confusing, so it's can be switched off here. Making a ghost hotspot or a suggested hotspot to a real hotspot just is a double click and it gets red and you can do some stuff. I come back to this to this property panel later. So you can, if it's red, you can hit the backspace key and you You delete it, but it's still there as a suggestion. And these ghost hotspots are very nice to make quick connections between points. The other way to make connections between nodes, if you have geolocated data or data on a floor plan, you can do all this stuff in the map. If you go on one node, you have an icon here, and you can drag your lines to every point you need. And to do it manually, you can connect. You can auto connect all the nodes to the closest. What makes most cases is this one. Linking complete is only interesting if really every node can see every other node. Or linking sequentially is quite good if you're, for example, having a hike in the mountains, and you can just go into sequential, and then it will be linked in the order you have in the tour browser. So this is what you get from the import, and now you can check the link, and we now have the first thing to do is that it looks a little bit weird here, and you see the connections are pretty much like it's not the direct visual connection. And if we have a look here, let's take the front of the Opera. Where is it? At the Opera bar ring here. This point here, if I center it on the map, you can just look at all nodes in your project if you hit this frame button here, or you can center on the current node you are at. And if you see here, this is the Opera front. There is the view down to the center of the city with the Stephan's Cathedral here. And we are looking now here, and you see this view cone isn't right. And you can, and very similar as you can do it in on your map in Pano2VR, in Panotour Pro. I will mess it up, I think, several times tonight. And if you go here, you can have change the north direction for every panorama. Here in the map you have in Panotour Pro, and if you go to Pano2VR, you have a tool quite similar to this. And if I'm standing here and I'm looking down this road, then I easily can set this north by targeting to landmarks. I don't need to know where north is, but I see where I'm looking at. And if I'm hitting the N key, then I can move the compass, but have the image, the panoramic image is not moving. So, and now I'm looking along this street, and now the point is aligned. Let's move to some point which is seriously off angle here. This Opera, you can go the backside of the Opera, and you have the look is you're looking here to this. I think the corner of the Opera building, and now I'm hitting the N key again, and now I'm looking to this corner of the building, and you now see all these visual connections going straight to this point. And this is a very simple and convenient tool to set everything north. And if the panoramas are not setting with the center, usually if you go taking outdoor panoramas, you for convenience, you take the north direction in the center of the image, and everything is set north if you import the panoramas into Pano2VR already. And so let's save it, by the way. And you can do this with all the other panoramas, or if you go to this one here, and it's quite, if you hit the N key, then it is quite convenient. Just let's point to this part of the Opera and switch it around. And so this is straight now. So this is setting north, and north will be entered in the user data. Here you set the value. if all panoramas have the same offset against the north direction, you can make use of this funny little icon, which suggests copy north to all nodes. This icon is present in very much places inside of Pano2VR to copy stuff you want to have at all nodes with one mouse click. You have it for description, for the metadata you have for every panorama. You can set this stuff here. And it is a very fast tool, and especially if you have all the same, you have the same north offset for all panoramas. Just hit this button, and it will copy to all other nodes. So let's head to the next point, and to try to rebuild features. The nodes, their orientation and their geolocation, all connections between them, everything what's shown here in blue color is a connection that is imported from Panotour Pro. And all this stuff is imported, but that's pretty much it. And the other, everything else, when it comes to different types of hotspots, pin hotspot, Polygon hotspots, and so on, these are only imported partially. And the most stuff you need needs to be rebuilt, and that is, and here we come to demonstrate. It comes to demonstration of all the different concepts Pano2VR has, in opposite to Panotour Pro. Just let's start with one significant feature where this appears the first time. If you're doing your first Pano2VR project when you are coming from Panotour Pro, you have an output section, which is the same as you have in the build section. In the build section of Panotour Pro, you have an HTML output. You can configure it to a certain extent, but you cannot set up very much here. It is completely different in Panotour Pro. You have 3 outputs. The first, I'm trying to, I'm starting with the most simple. The transformation is pretty much for converting your panoramas in a lot of different geometries and projections to do stuff like stereographic, and also on making little planets on the fly, and like this here, and go to just switching it down, and you can even turn it overhead, and doing all this funny stuff here. These are transformations, and it is outputting still images. You can delete an output, and I'm going to animation, and in animation you can set up in a different panel. You can make auto moving panoramas, or even auto moving tours. You can set several tracks and to make videos from them, which is the first purpose. And the second purpose is you can animation tracks which are scripted and then can be used as transitions between animations, and you can add it as a luxury version. I say now, at a luxury version of transitions between panoramas and self-running animations. If the screen is on idle, you can use these animations for such stuff. But the most important output is HTML5. This is the same section as I've shown in Panotour Pro just before. And here you can set up a lot of stuff. Some of these sections here, auto rotation, and you can introduce animation here and fly in. This is corresponding to the tour panel. If you click in the empty area with a general setup of your tour with start parameters, auto rotation, and so on, which is generally meant for the whole project. And in Pano2VR, some of this stuff is defined here. some of this stuff. When you go to control the context menu, this corresponds to in Panotour Pro to the module when it comes to menu, context menu. What you can define here, that is pretty much the same you can set up here. And the behavior of mouse, scroll wheels, touch stuff, and so on, the image quality and the multi-resolution tiling. It is a part which is taken over by the Pano machine underlying in Panotour Pro. And here you can select your HTML template, which is the same as you're using here. You have here a lot of different stuff the Color people built around the generic HTML, the full page HTML, which generally is more or less the same as it is default by the Pano output, and they build up some connections to Bootstrap stuff and some more other things. In Pano2VR, you have only three. You see, I have made some different stuff for different purposes, and for certain projects, you can set up these templates for your own purpose, and you can make a configuration panel. You can have a simple style that is made from. It is part of the factory setup here, or you can making some more elaborated stuff with more complicated setups to get a lot of stuff. You can do this by your own, a little bit coding, and you can prepare your project for some more advanced stuff. And these are the HTML templates. And when it comes to advanced stuff, you can add some external files here, and you can switch on VR. This is the same as you have in the start of your tour when you go here to the VR mode. These modes are different because it is based on Pano, and the Pano2VR has its own engine for displaying VR content. In fact, it's a different engine switching in when you move to the VR mode and using your smartphone in cardboard mode. The most important thing when it comes to the building up the user interface of so everything what's done in nearly everything what is done in the Style tab in Panotour Pro, everything what's done here, more or less everything, is done in the so-called skin editor. The skin is here, it's like a cow skin here, and you can select from skin some pre-built setups. And let's get the simplex skin, and these are prefabricated skins, and they have a configuration panel. You can configure it by yourself by doing some changeable parameters and show them outside, so you don't need to enter the skin editor. And if you enter the skin editor, which is in fact an own program, it's kind of a child program of Pano2VR, but if you click it, it is an own application. And this is what you can say, this is a style editor, the Style tab in Panotour Pro. You have the elements. There are only a very few concepts in common. What you see here, these are the elements. It is pretty much the same as the left sidebar in the Style tab of Panotour Pro. These are the elements which are in fact working on the surface on your build interface. And on the right side, you see all properties of this element. The right side, what you see here, you can imagine that is pretty much the same what you see in the center part of the Style tab in Panotour Pro. What you see here, the plugins library, here is where the differences come. These plugins, let's take the control bar. These are kind of, I'm calling it, it's kind of macro plugin. It is a bunch of elements consisting of buttons, consisting of text files, consisting of interactivity, and so on. Here are a lot of elements collected to build a unit at its own and serving for a certain purpose. And I'm calling it a macro plugin. And if you're going to Pano2VR, you have a micro approach, because here we don't have big build plugins. For example, a complete controller. You have a controller, and I make it visible here, and you have a controller here, and you can build your own controllers, and it is a unit of its own, but you can look inside and you can manipulate virtually everything what it's doing. And you're going on the buttons here, and you can fold out these buttons. You have the tooltips, and you have the icons and all this stuff. And let's have a look at the nodes, at the hotspot templates. These are these with the bullseye here. And if you switch to Panotour Pro, it is this section here. But these elements are pretty much equal. Everything can be created at the top here and introduced into this canvas. And if you have a look at the node, it's pretty much a nice example for the basic concepts you have behind it. In Panotour Pro, when you hit on the default point hotspot tile, you can define all this stuff. You can define the graphics, the size, and some advanced stuff, and how the tooltips are behaving, and so on, and what they are doing. And you can choose from a certain amount of actions what can be done. And all this is more or less hardwired. So you can have the selection on these actions here and interactions between different plugins, and that's it. And if you want to change something there, it gets difficult. And in Pano2VR, if you hit the node image, you can do the mouse click is doing some stuff. It goes to the go to URL. It's a universal command. You can go to another panorama, but you can go to a website. You can go to you can fire up a JavaScript. What is showing up here in the URL is mostly flexible, and you can work with placeholders. In Panotour Pro, you have placeholders like %p, for example, for the placeholder for the target panorama or group name. This concept is far more flexible in Pano2VR, because you have a huge bunch of placeholders, and not only placeholders, but you can have variables. And variables are extremely powerful to switch a lot of interface elements at once, to check a status of some stuff. You can, for example, you can make you can assign a variable for the let's say the map is open or the map is closed, is true or false. And if the map is open, then you can say, okay, if I have an info box, okay, if the info box pops up, okay, close the map, set the variable to false. And so you can switch around all your interface with variables, instead of making every element you don't want to see when a certain element is showing up. You don't need to hide 7 other elements. You can manage it with variables. And this concept is extremely flexible. And it's not as convenient as just showing a plugin. If you have here, if you throw it with a double click from here to here, that's all, and then you configure it. In Pano2VR, you have to build up this stuff for your own, or you use the pre-built interfaces, and the pre-built interfaces are extremely powerful. These here, and it's a good starting point. These two, his silhouette is another one. It looks a little bit different, but I think the function is nearly the same. And here you see a little warning screen. It's not really blocked, but usually you are doing your skins for your projects. And I think, okay, this is a PTP. And I'm going to my recent folders, PTP import, and going here, and I'm parking my skin now, project specific, to my file here. And you see here placeholder as well. It is $D, and it is now, it's the skin is living in my project. I'm doing it most of the time project based, but sometimes I have some general purpose skins I'm storing in the template folder. This template folder concept is pretty much the same as it is in Panotour Pro. If you go to Panotour Pro, you can see, if you view edit, where is it? Well, where is my I want to see the okay, I'm so blind. The template system directory and the user director. These directories you find in Panotour Pro. You find it here under preferences, and you see under files where all this stuff is living. And this is pretty much the same. And usually I'm doing HTML templates and skin. I save it here when it's more general purpose, and I save it along the project when it's more project based. And you can do it as you like. Usually I'm pulling some stuff from the template folder, saving it here, and then I'm modifying it to my needs. So now let's have a look how this looks like when I'm outputting it. I save it, by the way. Just to mention, Pano2VR is saving backup copies every some minutes. I don't know the exact time, and you can find these backups. You can find these backup copies of your project file in the folder. I think it's shown up here under files. And skin. I think it's around here. You can put the right mouse button. Just to mention, if the mouse click is red, it's a right mouse button. Green is a red. Green is a right mouse button. Left is a red is a left mouse button. Then I get it. Okay, and here you find along with this folder. This is in the system. On Mac it is library application support. On Windows I think it's app roaming and so on. I don't know it exactly. And here it's Garden Gnome software skins, and here you have the auto backup, and here I have my project files with date and time, so you find it in case something goes wrong. And here you see the project now. So it's organized as a silhouette, it's a skin file, and this is my project file. It's coming, a lot more stuff to come soon. And now we want to see a result. And if you're hitting the build button in Panotour Pro, it is a cogwheel, and it is a cogwheel in Pano2VR as well. So generate output, and now it's doing pretty much the same. It is remapping the panoramas and making the tile pyramids, all these multi-resolution files to show up. It's in every every resolution. Then it is before it's converting it to cube faces for display. And after that, here the button is the same button you have here. There's a replay button, the review button, and if you go here, you can click here. You can also automatically let it display. And that is what the silhouette skin looks like in Pano2VR. So we have a functional tour here, especially what the nodes are correctly linked. And you can go here and can go here in the main stage. And what we have here, I think I would like to show it to you. I didn't anything, but here this inspector's desk is already imported as an image as an hotspot with an image pop-up in Pano2VR. I should see the YouTube hotspot here as well. Okay, it doesn't work, and what's missing is the video hotspot here. That stuff needs to be added manually. Because this is stored in the Panotour Pro tour file, in the project file, in such a different way that it isn't converted yet to the Pano2VR format. Maybe that is kind of a feature request for the future. And here you can have all these stuff. The hotspot is listed, but it's here the icon shows it is not interpreted as a video hotspot, but interpreted as a URL hotspot, but it isn't working here right away. We need to reconfigure it. So that is the output. And it is the same with Pano2VR. If I just re-output it, you have the local host. You need your local web server to be able to see all this stuff played out by HTTP or HTTPS protocol, not by just opening the file in the browser in the file protocol. Then the major part of Panotour Pro output or Pano2VR output won't work if you access it via the file protocol. So just have a look at my cheat sheet, but it's we are quite good on track. Now let's go to the skin and to some hotspots to try to rebuild the first features we have in Panotour Pro, and we now want to see it in Pano2VR. First, I want to try, when I go to the Opera ball, I think we have a video hotspot here. And this shows a video. You have the web video ID. It's a YouTube ID and it's a YouTube video. Now let's build this or rebuild this in Pano2VR. So I'm changing to switching to Pano2VR and going to the panorama. It's the Opera Bar main entrance, and here is this hotspot. And now let's take a closer look at the hotspot concept we have in Pano2VR. So I need a glass of water sometime. Okay. Hotspots have certain types. You have 5 types of point hotspots. This is corresponding to Panotour Pro with these hotspots here. You have here Polygon Hotspots. These are introduced into your Panotour VR project by this little overlay showing up in the main window. These are the hotspots. This is a general display when you're looking around. And here you have a patch that is to extract parts of the image, to repair it in Photoshop and instantly re-importing it into Pano2VR. And you can get, especially from the floor, you can, with a patch, you can extract this extremely distorted part of the image, which is in the rectangular projection. You can export it as a rectilinear image, which is easily retouchable in Photoshop, export it to Photoshop, edit it there, close it and save it in Photoshop, and Pano2VR is monitoring it and reintegrating the retouched version on the fly here in Pano2VR. This is a feature not available in Panotour Pro. I'm not going here into the details, but more focusing on the hotspots. These are the point hotspots, and these are the polygon hotspots. And with the polygon hotspots, you can draw some lines. It's pretty much the same as in Panotour Pro. And the point hotspots, and with the polygon hotspots, you have 2 types. And with the point hotspots, you have here, when you go to some hotspot, I take this one, I want to edit here. You have a URL hotspots, tour nodes, which in fact are the links between panoramas. You can have image pop-ups, video pop-ups, and info pop-ups. These are the 5 main types. If you're going to this sub-menu, you have more stuff to choose from. And what you have here, it's up to you. This is a basic setup. The basic setup you can get from the factory presets here. And the video hotspot is separated to YouTube, to Vimeo, playing videos from an external URL or playing from a local file on the same server. And you have an hotspot for an image pop-up, for an info pop-up, as for the node, and they are switched automatically. If you go to URL, it goes to HTURL, it goes to node, it goes to video, and here in video you can choose file or YouTube. And now let's have YouTube here. Source is not a file, it's a YouTube. And you get this template and it's a description. And now you need the target, and here you can open here, and here you go to the URL of this video. Let's check it in Panotour Pro. I'm going to this ID, copy it, and I hope it is working here. Otherwise, link target URL. I think I just paste it here. I think it should work. Usually you have the whole. Okay, it's not a valid URL, so let's do it the way in with Firefox and go to YouTube and hit this ID here into YouTube. So it should work. And going to this video, the Vienna Opera Bolt. Now you can grab the URL on the share and copy it, close it, switch off the sound, and pasting it in here, and this should be working. Okay, this is now it's working if it's now showing it as a link, and this should be enough. And let's check it. Just save the project, save, and hit the cogwheel. And you can now go to the browser. And if the panorama is already open, but let's play it out in the web server, and you can do a reload. And I should have the video. Okay, why is it not showing up here? It should. So let's have a look. Video YouTube, video. Okay, it's not working here. Why isn't this working? So target, we don't need a target. So save, build. Oh, my video is gone. Okay, so let's skip it for the moment, and maybe it's in this. Okay, I'm just explaining where it goes. What's this hotspot is doing now. Here we have the hotspot video YouTube, and this skin ID, the name lets us guess it. This corresponds to what's happening in the skin. What the hotspot is doing. It's where the hotspot is, in which panorama or in which location. It is defined in the main program. Everything else, what the interactivity and the look and all this stuff is, this is defined in the skin editor. And we have here the hotspot template for video YouTube. I'm moving a little bit to the side so you can see both windows. Here is the ID, and this is what the ID is addressed to. It's YouTube video, and it's looking like this. And you have here a tooltip shown for this hotspot, and you have an YouTube image, and here in the hotspot template itself, it's called a hotspot template. You see what is happening here when I click on this hotspot, and it is pretty much this is a pretty nice example for getting an idea how this principle with defining a hotspot, with defining a skin ID for an hotspot in the main program, addressing it to the template working here. The template here, what you find here, it is more or less the same what you're doing in the style tab in the lower left corner, which is default with the default point spot. What's doing here in the video point style. And the video address is handed over to this and is opening a web source video and so on. This is what the action is doing and how the action is configured in Panotour Pro. And if you go to Pano2VR, you have these actions here. And if you go to advanced and to hotspot template and to appearance, you can define all aspects you have for this hotspot, and to make it visible or fading or something like that. And what's most important is here is you have the first action you have on the mouse click is set value, and you're sending over a placeholder to a target. And the target is pop-up video YouTube. Now let's check where this is. And it's on a different place, and the video pop-up YouTube is here. And inside, this is a frame where this video is living. Here inside is a video, and the video has no ID. It's handed over by the hotspot. And this is what's addressed by value. And here we have a loading. Icon behind. You cannot see it now. If you make it invisible, here is a loading animation, and here is a video. And this video is a dummy, and it is just thrown into the interface when it's popped up, when it's popping up, and the value what's needed for the YouTube ID to play this video we want to see there, it is handed over by the hotspot, and the hotspot is getting it with a placeholder, and that is what is in the action is made available with $HU. It is hotspot URL. It's the placeholder, and it's sending it over to pop-up video YouTube. And so you can use these templates for all video hotspots in your whole project. And what's happening after that, if this action is done, the action order is from top down. This is the first thing happening on the mouse click. The second thing is mouse click, set variable value. And with is usually used for visible or invisible video pop-up YouTube, set to true. And now let's see how this is working. Go to the video pop-up YouTube, and here we have the parameter visible. Default is it is invisible. The box is not ticked. And here we have a little icon. And this icon is one of the powerhouses of the skin editor. It's a so-called logic block. And a logic block can alter or change or hide or show stuff just depending on conditions. And we have a variable here. It is this video YouTube pop-up YouTube, which originally is false, so the pop-up is not showing. And if it's set to true, the visible is true. The default case is it's false. It is false. And so this is working here to switch on the pop-up. First, throw in the YouTube URL, then make it visible, and then you have a close button, which is generally working for stuff like that, setting all these variables back to true. And you can save it here. And but before, let's switch to the YouTube hotspot back to show some more stuff here. I want to mention we have a tooltip, and tooltips are handled very easy because it's a text file, and I'm switching this off here. This eye here is comparable to the eye in the Photoshop layers. It makes the element invisible in the editor, but not invisible in the user interface. Everything what's meant to be invisible or visible in the user interface is switched by this visible button, or alternative with alpha between 0 and 1. And here we have the tooltip, and it has a visibility. Condition if the mouse is over the parent. Then, if it's true and hotspot title is it's not equal to nothing. So there's something is in the hotspot it's in the hotspot title. It's $HS. That is I show it soon. And then it's true, otherwise the tooltip is false, and the mouse over parent is only if it's over this, it shows up. If it leaves the hotspot, it doesn't appear. Some other stuff you can do with logic blocks is just a nice example here. Is if you have a touch device, then you set the coordinates of this tooltip to minus 47. Here it's meant it moves up above the hotspot, because if you have a touch device, tooltip below the hotspot would hide it with a finger, would be hidden by the finger. So if you have a touch device, then you can get then you can push the tooltip to above. Here you have these triggers, and these triggers are extremely powerful because you can check a lot of parameters of the device, of the screen, of the status of the project, of the current view, of the status. Is the node visited? Is the ID? What tags it has? The tags I mentioned before is very important, and you have a state. It is just loading, or it's active, or advanced. You can check the host, the operating system, the browser, or the bunch of variables you defined. And you have the whole placeholders. Here you have the whole collection of the placeholders going up to the distance of between spots in kilometers or something like on. You can make everything. You can everything what has a logic block here can be made dependent on this stuff here, and it's extremely powerful. And you can build very sophisticated user interfaces from here. That is one reason why it doesn't because one reason for plugins or something like that being available for Pano2VR. There are some commercial providers for ready-made skins, especially in the real estate area, but you have no plugins in the sense as a Panotour Pro is it offering what you have here under advanced. Here I have some third-party plugins. To build this, you need to be a KR Pano professional, and you need to really dive into the KR Pano coding very deeply to build these plugins. These are more or less black boxes for the most people, and a lot of stuff you can have with these advanced plugins and with these third-party plugins can be easily rebuilt with the skin editor. And this is a very nice concept. And what I need to mention, and maybe I'm going into detail in the second part of the webinar next week. With Pano2VR, you don't have an underlying framework like KR Pano is. KR Pano is a quite complicated coding-only panorama application. It sports even more features and more functions as Pano2VR has up to now, but Pano2VR is getting closer and closer to the functions you have in in KR Pano. But KR Pano is coding only. There is no real user interface. Panotour Pro was the interface for making this, and with Pano2VR you don't have let's show some stuff here. This is some of the concepts. And with Pano2VR, you have no underlying framework. Pano2VR is working with simple JavaScript, HTML, CSS, nothing else, nothing special. And you have a more or less seamless interface to common web technologies. And this is very nice to extend stuff you cannot make with the built-in or out-of-the-box features and functions you have in the skin editor. The skin editor isn't the end. You can add your own JavaScript and to make connections to stuff you can't, so everything you can imagine. So I think we have an hour done now. And now let's switch over to Karin, what she has collected from the Q&A.
Hi there.
Hello, Karin.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of questions.
Okay, I'm switching to it. Yes.
Yeah, and so we had a few questions that were upvoted. I can see.
Yeah. Okay.
So maybe you want to look over and see which ones for Panotour Pro users are, what you see a lot of people are asking. If you like.
Okay. I think I'm just trying from the top. Kathy Lee asks, I use specific hotspots from, I think now it's from a certain website. Does the program offer hotspot options, features like, without having a look at this website, I think you can rebuild virtually anything what can be done with hotspots. You can do animations in it. You can do flyouts, images. An hotspot is an object of its own. It can have childs as much as you like with their own interactions and with showing up little web snippets with URLs on it, or with some icons or animations, or even if you can use one hotspot to show up different icons depending on the tags, because sometimes you can make your own you can make your hotspot distinguishing between restaurants, ATMs, or some bars, or some restaurants and groceries. You can do it with one hotspot, only depending on tags you want to see to see there, and you can get really much interactivity on the hotspot. It is far beyond what Panotour Pro has to offer here. Next question, Hernan asked, Panotour has a walkthrough transition effect. I think you are reflecting like the 3D stuff Matterport office, or the I think I'm often call it 2.5D transitions you have in KR Pano, as you have you can introduce some 3D information into your spherical panoramas to have some walkthrough effects, or you can move sideways a little bit in the 3D environment is corresponding to this. This you don't have in Pano2VR. It's no really 3D engine. It's just a spherical panorama. Kevin asks, okay, is there anything PTP can do that Pano2VR cannot do yet? I think no. I think you can build everything what can be done in Panotour Pro can be done in Pano2VR, and I think even more. And Kevin asks, when you import a PTP project, does Pano2VR copy all the images assets over to the new project directory? No, it only transfers the panorama images themselves, and nothing else. And you see it when I'm adding a new skin, I have different hotspot icons. Then if Hernan asks again, it is necessary to build two different interfaces for mobile and desktop. You can, but you don't need to, because the skin editor can be made responsive to a very big extent. And you can see, let's say, just one element. You can make the size. You can make the size or position dependent on player is mobile, has touch, or is mobile, and you can see, okay, the player, this stuff should move around, or if the width is 100% on a desktop, but it's only 50% on mobile, just add a logic block, go for the player width or the screen size or something like that. Like that. You can make it responsive for the desktop and seamlessly then responsive down to mobile devices, and always reflective for device, for technology device has to offer, like gyroscope, or you can check the aspect ratio of the screen, so you can decide whether you have a desktop or landscape orientation, or a tablet or a smartphone. Everything is possible. The walkthrough transitions, import,
Oh, I just wanted to step in. Can I just step in just to add to that question from Hernan, that we had a webinar not that long ago doing exactly this, making responsive interfaces and everything. So if you go to our website, ggNOME.com/webinars, you'll find the past ones there, and you can watch the videos. So sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. I just wanted to step in.
Just a good. I should have mentioned it before. The more detailed concepts of all these function groups of Pano2VR, just head over to the Garden Gnome website and go to documentation webinars, and you see what's already online from recorded webinars about more big topics, and all these small tips on YouTube. Martin has recorded, or Karen has recorded for the more granular elements and concepts and new stuff which comes up on the versions from Pano2VR. Can we handle different languages? Of course, because the text can be used for switching languages. Just take a text field like that, and in the text there you have some. You have some text in it, but you have a logic block, and you trigger a variable here, and the variables, and the variable, you have a variable language. You define it, and you set it to English or to French and German, just for two letters, and then you generate a button, switch languages, one button for German, English, French, and you have a variable containing the language, and then you make the text. If the variable is AN, then you set the English text, make another connection. Variable is FR, the text in French, variable AN, and this is the text in French, and that is very easily manageable with tags and variables, and can you view Pano2VR you just create online, please? Can it be placed in Google Drive? I think Google Drive isn't as the same as Dropbox. Google Drive isn't delivering stuff which HTTP protocol, and I don't think so. I think Karen, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we can lock a tour with a password. Is it right?
Yep, that's right.
I didn't use it before, so I'm asking. If you're aware of web technologies, then it's easy to replace the index HTML of the output with the index PSP and do some PHP password stuff on it. It's more easy. And if you want to have a private link, only you can you can see. Yes, Erwin B, I say hi. Can we handle different languages? I answered this already. We will need to recreate all PTP interface graphics in Pano2VR to import. I did the test import, and it only imported Hotspot as a default. Yes, it's right. Yeah, I explained it. It's it's corresponding to the answer here with asked for the images and assets and so on. You can assign the hotspots and all this stuff. Again, if you have your own hotspot, you go to the URL hotspot, you name these images, and you replace this image here, convert to button. You can use SVG, and you can convert it so you have PNGs, and you can just with change, you can add your own button graphics and transfer them from your PTP project, from the assets there. It's just not possible yet to import these type of items into the project. Would be a nice feature, and I would suggest to think about that. Thomas, will you show especially partially 360-degree video integration? It is. I think you mean what is happening with 360 video. If you have a panorama and you go to properties, you can input a video as well here. And Pano2VR is working with 360 videos as well. Here's the image, here's a video. That's all. And you can cubic video the 2x3 format with 6 cube faces on a 3x2 video format, or you can equirectangular spherical video, as it's done most of the time now. You can integrate it here. What I'm showing next week is to rebuild all this map stuff and the structuring the project into the indoor-outdoor group, and doing the map stuff, which is extremely powerful and very much more powerful than it is in PTP. Where can I buy preset and component instead of making them? There's a little. There is a guy. I think he's living in Chile. I don't know. I don't have his address at hand. he's offering commercial skins, but it's a very small market. The plugin market for Panotour Pro is quite nice. There's nothing comparable to for Pano2VR. What you can do, and what is to a certain extent already delivered by the Garden Gnomes, is I didn't mention it before. You have a little icon here on the skin editor on the right top corner, the component toolbox, and this is an extension to what it's standard, what's its default in the interfaces of Silhouette or the Simplex interfaces, the two main interfaces. It's a very good stuff to learn. And you have a map button. It's not integrated now, but you just can integrate into your interface with a double click. And it is pretty much the same. I think I said it before. It's pretty much the same as you have here. The plugins library is somewhat corresponding to the components toolbox. These are different files. You find it in your template folder, and this can be exchanged. And in the forum, there are sometimes Martin or some other guys which are engaged there posting skin component files, and you can filter it here for their functions or for the if they are belonging to a certain Silhouette or Simplex to the styles here, so they have the same design. And these are kind of plugins, as you have ready-made drop-down menus. You have a navigation cross. You have an information pop-up with all the stuff you need for this, control bars for video and audio, map buttons with map containers, thumbnail galleries, and so on. It is to some extent, it is the same as the plugins library you have in Panotour Pro. And for now, this stuff is for free. I have my user-defined stuff here, living here, but currently it's empty because I have set up the machine freshly. And so you can collect your own parts of your skins as reusable parts here in the skin components toolbox. So maybe this answers. Is there a yeah? Sorry.
I just wanted to step in again. In our forum, there's also a dedicated forum for people selling skins.
Oh, yeah, you are right.
Yeah. So there's just another place to go there. Thank you.
Yeah. And Erwin asks again, is there a function like Live Pano, video presenter in the Pano? It is. It is not named Live Pano, but it is done. I only can sketch it now. I mentioned the patches for repairing stuff here in the panorama, and you can use an arbitrary place here and place a patch, and this is a section of the image, and you can extract it to Photoshop, and then you can superimpose. You can make a compositing in Photoshop or After Effects or whatever you are familiar with, and then reintegrate this patch as a video hotspot. There's a nice example on YouTube. Martin made with the fountain on the Schwarzenbergplatz in Vienna. Just look out for this, and it's very nice. It's explained in detail how it's working. Just head over to the YouTube page from Garden Gnome. There you find it. I think it's not that long ago. I think, or Karen, where Karen made the when Martin made the fountain video stuff.
Yeah, it's not that old. And I think we also we have another example on our website with a blacksmith hitting. Just a blacksmith. I mean, we have examples, yeah.
So, okay, what improvements has for VR headset like Oculus Go and Quest? There, I'm not able to answer as I'm not yet working with these devices. Maybe Karen has some input.
It's a broad question. If you're so I think the one thing that people ask for the most are having custom hotspot images or having the skin translated to the WebVR output. And for using the skin and getting a little bit more customization, we recommend using VR Tour Viewer. And you can use that to get your Panotour, Pano2VR projects directly into the headsets using VR Tour Viewer.
Okay. Kathy Lee, is there an ability to have multiple looks toggled or swapped between then on one image? For example, changing out the countertop of the kitchen. I think, yeah, that should be possible. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the same concept with the patches.
Yeah, with patches, and you can make a patch hotspot and stack these images of the different colored countertops on each other, and then switch them with variables or with tags. Okay, I think that pretty much is it, huh?
Yeah, looks like it. I think we got them all.
Yeah,
there's a lot of questions.
Yeah, I hope so. Yeah, it's nice to see.
Yeah, it's great. Okay.
Okay.
So I guess
sorry. Can a YouTube video be mapped on a wall instead of a pop-up? Yes, I show it next time. It is what I showed with the public viewing scene here. I have a corner pin video on top of it. What's working in PTP and what I can rebuild here in Pano2VR. I'll show it next time.
Perfect. Cool. All right, then I think that's it for today. Thanks a lot, Thomas, for your time and your expertise. I learned a lot. I hope everyone watching also learned a lot. And your part 2 is next week, same day, same time, right? And you can register for that already on our website if you haven't already. And I think that's all to announce. So thanks a lot, everyone. It was great to see you all. And Erwin, just will there be more workshops or webinars? Yes, we are full on webinars. We have a webinar every week now, every Wednesday. And Thomas is continuing his part 2 next week. So. And
maybe some more if you
like. Maybe some more later. Yeah.
Just drop in your questions, drop in your suggestions. What do you want to see? Martin can do it. I can do it. And I'm not part of the support team, but I'm supporting the support team. So yeah, thanks for joining us, and I hope you enjoyed this and you got a glimpse on the concept differences between Panotour Pro and Pano2VR. And yeah, and Karin needs to say some famous last words.
Just goodbye, thank you, and see you all next week.
Goodbye.
Bye.